Because practicing the piano disturbs others. I bought a room for ashes. I am the only living person in the whole building, so I can play the music however I want. One day, when I was practicing the piano, I suddenly heard a roar. This is so annoying. The fourth bar is wrong. 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 I was horrified. Master, can you give me some advice? I practice piano for 12 hours a day, and I'm disliked no matter where I live. The agent said there's a property in the suburbs that's particularly suitable for me. The rent is dirt cheap. The property management is excellent. And most importantly, no one lives there. So there's no noise. At first I thought, no one lives here. Was a joke. But when I moved in I found it was terribly quiet. The garage was empty of cars and the grounds were deserted. The neighborhood security guard looked at me as if he had seen a fairy from outer space. It wasn't until the takeout was unwilling to deliver here that I felt something was wrong. I asked the security guard, didn't they say that all the houses were sold out and no one has moved in yet? The security guard blew out a smoke ring and said calmly, it's fully occupied. You must be kidding. There's not even a ghost in sight. The security guard chuckled and said, ghosts don't have shadows. I was startled. What do you mean? Security guard, I'm not trying to scare you. All the owners of this community bought this place to store ashes. We are the only two living people. The legendary urn. After a brief thought, I turned from surprise to joy. How wonderful. No neighbors would complain about me anymore. And I could play the piano however I wanted. Thinking that all the ashes in the community will fall asleep to the sound of the piano in the future. I can't help but smile. The security guard thought I was crazy and rolled his eyes and said, it's best if you're not afraid. If you have any problems, call the duty office later. What else can I do? My top priority right now is to practice the piano. The Dream Theater will have an exam in a month. I want to be a pianist and have wanted to do that since I was a kid. I worked very hard for this. But my teacher always said, Georgia, you've played well, but you're still a step away from the best. This breath cannot be seen, touched, described or explained. The teacher said, listen to Felix's performances more often. You can see the passion in his bones. It's like he has poured his life into the music. Of course I have heard it countless times. But that's Felix. How dare I go to the moon and make trouble? Felix is the former principal of the Dream Theater. He debuted as a talented teenager and tickets for his global tours are hard to get. He is truly a big shot in the industry and a role model for us. Unfortunately, geniuses often die young. He suffered from severe mental illness and soon after leaving the stage, he jumped off the roof of a hotel, ending his short but brilliant life. Only 26 years old. The Dream Theater lost its soul and was in urgent need of recruiting new talents. The song for the exam was exactly Felix's famous song, Dream Movement. Without fear of complaints from my devoted neighbors, I turned up the volume on the stereo, listened to Felix over and over, and played it over and over again. Before I knew it, it was dark. Before I knew it, it was late at night. My light was the only one on in the silent neighborhood. Only through my window can the music of the world be heard. I was playing the piece with great ecstasy when suddenly I heard a roar. This is so annoying. The fourth bar is wrong. 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 I was startled and turned around subconsciously. There's no one there. The door is clearly closed. But the balcony window was not closed. Could it be that there were guests in this community of ashes? I bravely walked to the balcony, and it was still pitch black as far as I could see, with only a few street lights in the community turning on out of boredom. Who is it? I asked loudly. There was a fluttering sound outside the window. A bird flew by, and then silence returned. Was I too absorbed in piano practice and having hallucinations? I closed the balcony window tightly, sat back at the piano, and carefully looked at the fourth bar on the score, making sure I played it correctly. Well, it must be an illusion. I shook my head, calmed down and continued playing. After playing a few bars, he roared angrily, "It's still wrong even if you play it 100 times. Don't play it anymore. This time I heard it clearly. It was a man. And he was very close to me. As if it's right next to me. At this time, the doors and windows were closed tightly. And there was no one in the room. I was horrified and asked in a trembling voice, "Who are you?" The voice seemed very impatient. "Who do you care who I am? I am annoyed by your playing this crappy song every day. And it is so bad. I don't agree with this. Although I am an unknown person. I graduated from a famous music college and won the Outstanding Graduate Award. Who dares to say that I play badly? Don't talk nonsense if you don't understand," I boldly said to the air. "I played the fourth bar correctly. Do you understand?" The air was silent. "Haha. You are really pretending to know something when you don't." I snorted and turned around to continue playing. As soon as I stepped on the pedal, the voice rang out again. "If you played it right, then the score is wrong." My heart moved. At my level, reading music is a basic skill, so I can't play it wrong. But there are indeed a few places where I can't play it the way Felix does, including the fourth section. This is the score produced by Dream Theater. Just as he finished speaking, there was a ding sound and the piano started to play by itself. But I didn't play it at all. I didn't even put my hands on it. 2 more tentative sounds. This time I could see clearly that the keys were moving by themselves. There is an invisible hand playing. The hands tentatively began, then quickly gained confidence, and beautiful piano music rang out in the night. It is dream movement. My eyes cannot see him, but my ears can. At this moment, the piano seems to have hidden a huge energy, which is about to be released to the world through these hands. This is the best live performance I have ever heard in my life. It was so good that my heart was overwhelmed and I was speechless. The song ends, but the sound lingers. After a long time, a sigh was heard in the air, distant and full of regrets. I came to my senses and asked, "Did you play it?" My voice was very soft and gentle, fearing that a harsh tone might alarm this invisible visitor and ruin the beauty of this moment. Unexpectedly, the person who was sighing just now suddenly became angry again. "If it's not me, then it must be a ghost." As soon as the words came out, the air froze. After a moment, he suddenly said in frustration, "Okay, I am indeed a ghost. A ghost who can play the piano." I stretched my hand into the air, but obviously, I couldn't touch him. "Are you scared?" No, I haven't." "Oh, you're kidding me." He really doesn't think of himself as a ghost. Everyone is afraid of ghosts. I would have been afraid of ghosts before. But now, my heart and eyes are filled with the dream movement he played, which is full of waves and stirs people's hearts. "There is no time to be afraid. You play really well," I praised. "Master, can you give me some pointers?" "I mean it." His performance creates a beautiful dream, which makes the listeners intoxicated and unwilling to wake up. He is a ghost, but he also has a rare and strong vitality. "Why do you practice this song every day?" he asked. "I want to apply for the Dream Theater Company. This is the exam piece." "Heh," he snorted. His tone was full of disdain. "I'll play it again. If you still can't figure out your problem, I suggest you don't take the test. Go back to where you came from." After saying this, the piano music started again. I didn't have time to care about his rudeness. I immediately held my breath and concentrated to distinguish every note. I finally understood that the score was indeed wrong. His treatment was very different from the score, as if it was natural, and it had a very high artistic level. I have only experienced this kind of state with Felix. When the song was over, I couldn't help but applaud, but he interrupted me and said coldly, "Our hands should be used to play the piano, not to applaud others." He has a really bad temper and is a very grumpy person. "You play it once." His tone was imperative. I took a deep breath and imagined him playing. He was so infectious. He touched me effortlessly, and a new dream movement flowed out from my fingertips. I have never played so well. My fingertips felt tingling and my heart was beating so fast. This dream cut through the night sky and enveloped me. After the last note was collected, the room fell into silence. No applause. I wouldn't be able to hear him even if he clapped. No. He wouldn't clap because he said his hands were for playing the piano, not for clapping for others. I boldly asked, "Are you Felix?" Still silent. "Hey. Great God. Are you leaving?" He seemed to have really left and didn't respond to me at all. I rubbed my fingertips gently and felt like I was dreaming. The next day in class, the teacher was surprised and said that I had suddenly gotten it, and if I could continue to improve, my chances of getting into my dream theater troupe would be much greater. I spent most of the night thinking about it and was almost certain that the grumpy guy was Felix. There are many videos of Felix's performances online, and they are exactly the same as those of the grumpy ghost. However, he is extremely mysterious outside the stage, rarely facing the public, and the few times he speaks, it is only very soft and it is difficult to distinguish his voice. But the music is there, and the sound of the piano will not lie. And since Felix is indeed no longer alive, it is possible that he just happens to be my neighbor of ashes. When I was going home, the security guard was dozing off, so I woke him up and asked him the last name of the owner of room 502. He yawned and flipped through the roster. Leopold. I jumped up excitedly. Ah, his last name is really Leopold. The security guard stared at me suspiciously and muttered, "Are you sick? If you are sick, you are sick." I, an ordinary Georgia, unexpectedly received personal instruction from the piano genius Felix. And it happened half a year after Felix's death. What a magical fate. There are two households on one floor. I live in 501 and Felix lives in 502. I am so lucky that I never dared to think about it. When I got home, I walked to the door of room 502 and knocked gently. "Felix." "Thank you." No response. I suddenly remembered that it was broad daylight and it was probably not yet time for him to appear. So I took out a note from my bag and wrote the 3 words, "Thank you." After thinking for a while, he boldly added, "Can we meet again tonight? Then push it under the door." I practiced the piano with extra passion that night. I was full of motivation when I thought of Felix listening to my piano not far away. With every tune I played, I called out to him, "Hi, are you here? Have I made any progress? Felix. I know you are Felix. Please show up. Grumpy. Are you there or not?" I listened to the movements in the air and only regretted that I didn't have a pair of eyes that could see through the yin and yang. Forget it. If you don't want to come, then don't come. After all, he was Felix, and geniuses always have airs. I fell asleep unwillingly, and he never came into my dream. The next morning, I was awakened by the singing of birds outside the window. The sunlight shone obliquely into the balcony and entered the house shallowly. The whole body was filled with warmth, and there was no trace of the desolation of the urn. I hid in the bed and put on cartoon pajamas, then got up and saw a note on the piano lid. It's the one I stuffed under the door of room 502 yesterday. "Thank you. Can we see each other tonight?" I read the words on the note and chuckled at myself. It seems that he came after I fell asleep. Except he gave the note back to me. Is this a rejection? Disappointment welled up in my heart, and I threw the note into the trash can. If we don't want to see each other, then we don't want to see each other. What's the big deal? I'll let you die of loneliness here. Suddenly my eyes lit up. There were words on the back. I quickly looked through the trash can and saw 3 words written on the back of the note. Progress. He wrote it. He really heard it last night. But why didn't he show up? Did he not want to talk to me? Okay. I'm not going to call you Felix anymore. I yelled into the air. I'm going to call you Felix, whether he was there or not. I assumed he heard it. Although Felix didn't come for 3 consecutive days. He did not stop giving instructions. Every day I put a note in the crack of the door of room 502, and the note would appear on the piano the next morning. There are always a few words of advice on the other side, the kind that can achieve great results with little effort. Felix. Felix. Are you bored as a ghost and want to take in a student from the world of the living for fun? So I worked extra hard so as not to let him down. That night, I played the best dream movement in my life, looking at the fluttering curtains, and for some reason, I felt that he was there. Felix. The teacher said I look 70% like you. Felix. I know you're here. Why are you ignoring me? Do you want me to burn some paper money for you? No. No. Paper money is too tacky. How about I make a paper piano for Felix? Get out. An angry roar suddenly exploded. He finally showed up. He didn't come earlier or later, but just when I wanted to make a paper piano for him, he appeared, and still so irritable. Felix. Who are you? Felix. He interrupted me, his tone filled with the sinister resentment that only ghosts can have. My brain was a little off at this point, and I thought he didn't want to take me in as his apprentice. So I asked uncertainly, then, calling him by his name isn't very respectful. You think calling me a hothead is respectful? Well, it was heard. I said, you haven't shown up yet. I'm so anxious. I just want to call you over. You have to call me to come. I really hate rhetorical questions. They feel too oppressive. But when I thought that this was Felix, the god worshipped in the piano world, I couldn't help but back off. I wanted to thank you in person. But since you didn't show up, I can only burn you or prick you. If you have your mind distracted, you will never achieve anything. He sneered. He added, don't worry about who I am. And don't thank me. Practice hard. Achieve your dreams. Let the whole world listen to your music and touch your soul. Then you will be a qualified musician. Although his tone was cold, I could actually hear a hint of sincerity compared to his previous temper. Underneath his temper was his concern for me. So he is not only a god in the piano world, but also a god who is willing to give me guidance and who has a hard mouth but a soft heart. I felt happy. Got it. Thank you. The most amazing you. I finally found the right expression. This time he didn't ask again. He snorted and said disdainfully, what do you mean by 70% like Felix? What kind of teacher did you find? Your vision is too narrow. But I'm going to apply for the Dream Theater. And everyone is expecting a new Felix to appear. Heh, he said disdainfully. Why do you want to be another Felix? You are you. You should play your own music. Here. Try strengthening your left hand, he said. The music score flipped through and stopped at a certain page. The keys danced and he began to demonstrate to me. I quickly took out my cell phone and secretly pressed the record button. That night, he gave me his guidance with all his heart. But I was like a greedy sponge, wishing I could take all of his lost talent for myself. I'm leaving, he said. This was the first time he said goodbye solemnly. Goodbye. The most powerful teacher. I waved at the air, feeling that he was there. Just when I thought there would be no more response, his voice came from afar. Still call me Grumpy. I approve. The remaining sound disappeared outside the door. He ran to 502. I was reluctant to close the door, and I did not do it until all the sensor lights in the corridor went out and the whole world was so quiet that the only sound I could hear was my own breathing. I declare that grumpy ghosts are the cutest kind of ghosts. Before going to sleep, I put on my headphones and played back the recordings on my phone. This is a unique recording in the entire world. From a life that has long passed away. It is so brilliant, so precious, and I alone own it. But I found that his performance was a little different from the Felix the First had heard before. When he was alive, Felix's dream movement was magnificent and passionate, but now Felix's dream is magnificent but also full of anger, and has an inexplicable power, eager to break through the siege and grasp the light. Perhaps it was the 6 months of ghost life that changed his state of mind. I think so. Ever since I started calling him Grumpy, our relationship seems to have become closer. He asked me to buy a string of wind chimes, and every time he came or left, he would ring the wind chimes. He said, Don't hide under the quilt to change clothes anymore. My face turned red. I didn't expect that he had discovered this secret. The world of the living is clearly visible, but the world of ghosts makes me curious. I asked him if all the ashes here had turned into ghosts, and if they could come and go freely like him, and if other ghosts would have any objection to me practicing the piano every day. He said that ashes are ashes and ghosts are ghosts. He said that he was the only ghost who could enter and leave my house, but he was not willing to tell me the reason. He told me not to ask about ghosts and to concentrate on practicing the piano. He was reluctant to talk about himself, but he was particularly concerned about my application for the Dream Theater Company. At first he just gave me some pointers, but later he became more and more involved and even started to design plans for me. In the end he simply changed all the repertoire I chose. He said, "What is your teacher thinking? This piece of music does not reflect your strengths at all." Then he helped me choose an extremely difficult piece of music and demonstrated it to me personally. His playing was top-notch. So much so that I once sighed, "I'm sorry you were treated unfairly by my second-hand piano. I can't imagine how much fun you would have if you played on a Steinway." He gave his usual sneer and asked his usual rhetorical question, "Do you think the piano is more important than people?" This complements each other. I managed to come up with an idiom. He was silent for a moment, then said, "My first piano was picked up from a garbage dump." Garbage dump. This time it was my turn to ask back, looking in the direction of his voice in surprise. The Felix the First No comes from a musical family and is definitely a gifted child. Why did you find a piano in the garbage dump? But before I could ask, he had already regained his temper. This matter has nothing to do with you. The most important thing for you now is to play the best music on this piano. Continue with the lesson. Under his guidance, I made rapid progress, which surprised my teacher. He kept praising me for my sudden enlightenment. When the teacher heard that I wanted to change the optional piece, he was stunned for a long time and reminded me that it was almost the last minute of the exam and it would be very risky to change the piece. But after listening to my performance, the teacher only said 2 words. "It's up to you." Finally, the exam is tomorrow. The grumpy ghost accompanied me for the last practice. When leaving, a branch of osmanthus was thrown on the piano cover, and a few petals fell off. For me, I just picked it up. There are plenty of them in the neighborhood. No matter how many branches there are in the community, you picked only this one. It's obvious that you want me to win the first prize. He didn't respond. Can you focus on the exam? Have you prepared your ID card and admission ticket? Don't you want to go to bed early the night before the exam? Another series of rhetorical questions. Behind the feeling of oppression is deep concern. The last time someone nagged me like this was my dad. Suddenly my nose felt sore. My father was working in my hometown to earn money for me to learn piano, and he didn't know yet that I was going to apply to join the Dream Theater. I was afraid that he would be disappointed, so I planned to tell him after I passed the exam. A tear fell uncontrollably. I was about to wipe it away when I suddenly felt a chill on my cheek, as if an ice-cold hand was wiping my tears. This was the first time I felt him. I immediately covered it with my palm, but it only covered my cheek. The coldness disappeared. "Cranky, can I see you?" I whispered. The sound of wind chimes rang out unexpectedly, and he was about to leave without saying goodbye again. Grumpy. I chased to the door, only to find a young girl in the corridor looking at me in surprise. She was sophisticated and chic, with French waves and stiletto heels. I immediately retreated back into the room and looked through the peephole curiously. I saw the girl walk slowly to the door of room 502, take out the key and open the door. Is she from the Leopold family? The wind chimes were still ringing softly. The door of room 502 closed, and the lights in the corridor went out quietly. The examination venue is in the Dream Theater's Grand Theater. More than 20 finalists who had passed multiple rounds of screening sat backstage in the theater, feeling nervous. Everyone was dressed in appropriate formal attire, looking bright and beautiful, except for me, who was wearing a white shirt and a navy blue skirt, looking as plain as a student. I can't afford a dress. But when I touched the osmanthus branch in my bag, I thought, I don't have a dress. And you don't have Felix's blessing. You will stand taller and have confidence. Finally, it was my turn to take the exam. I pushed open the door leading to the stage and a dazzling light came in. Scorching and oppressive. In the center of the light is a Steinway grand piano. Felix played it before. The staff at the door indicated that they needed to check my ID card and admission ticket. I nodded and reached into my bag. But I found nothing. I clearly remembered to put it in this pocket. Cranky reminded me to bring my ID. And I checked it again this morning. I couldn't help but break out in a cold sweat. I opened the bottom of my bag and some bits and pieces fell out. Osmanthus flowers also fell to the ground. But there is no certificate. I lost my ID. You can't take the exam without a certificate, the staff member said in a businesslike manner. I've taken the test twice. The examiner must know me. The staff shook their heads and said, I'm sorry. This is the rule. I begged. Can you please let me go up first? I promised to get the documents back. Sorry. He called backstage. Next. A beautiful girl in a golden long dress came over gracefully, handed over her ID elegantly, then walked towards the light and sat down in front of the Steinway. The door closed quietly. The light was ruthlessly blocked out, and I was locked outside. I don't agree. This girl doesn't play as well as I do. I can play the dream movement better. This dissatisfaction made me feel even more miserable, and I couldn't stop crying. The staff handed me a tissue, but I had no intention of thanking them and ran away, covering my face. I escaped to a dark corner, leaned on a broken piano and cried loudly. My dreams since childhood, all my efforts over the years, the struggles of my parents in my hometown, the teacher's hard work, and the careful guidance of the grumpy ghost, all wasted because of a simple mistake. In a trance, I heard the song end on the stage and the exam was over. That graceful girl was the last candidate. The examiners were about to leave, and the most important day of the first half of my life was about to pass away quietly in endless darkness. Suddenly, I remembered the piano under me. This is backstage. I can hear the sound on stage, which means the sound here can reach the stage. I still have a chance. I immediately opened the piano lid, and the dust that rose up got into my nasal cavity, causing me to sneeze violently several times. The tears flowed more violently. I placed my phone upright on the piano, turned on the flashlight, and discovered that this was also a Steinway. I tried to play a string of notes and it worked. Although seriously out of tune, the sound quality is excellent. I took a deep breath. Even if I couldn't get into my dream theater, I wanted the examiner to hear my performance. In the darkness, I don't need music score, only the music itself. I played the most passionate dream movement of my life on this dusty piano. I no longer care about exams. I just want my music, my voice, and my shouts to break through this dark and narrow space and be heard by the whole world. I don't know when the door behind me opened. I didn't know when a group of people started standing outside the door. All I know is that when the song ended, I burst into tears, slumped over the piano, making a loud noise, and then burst into tears. The dark room suddenly became bright. The warm sunshine-like light shone down from above my head, enveloping the piano and me. A burst of warm applause interrupted my crying. I turned around and saw that the examiners were standing at the door. They were applauding. The grumpy ghost said that a musician's hands are for playing the piano, not for clapping. But at this moment, so many musicians are applauding me. The white-haired old man in the lead is called Hardy, a music giant, founder of the Dream Theater, and Felix's grandfather. Continue with your song of choice, Hardy said. So, this allows me to continue with the exam. I asked, are you going to the stage? No. Here. Use this piano. I nodded heavily and began to play the piece of music that Cranky had chosen for me. At this moment, I always feel that the exam is not entirely for myself. It is clearly not there, but it is everywhere. Every emotion I play is so subtle. It is the tug-of-war, entanglement, love-hate relationship between me and the piano. It was the grumpy ghost who made me understand this emotion. The song ended, but there was no applause. I tried to pull myself out of my emotions and turned to look at the door. Hardy's eyes were bright, as if they had the power to freeze time. If he didn't applaud, no one would dare to applaud. So do I still have a chance? You're accepted, Hardy said. There was thunderous applause. Ah! I screamed in excitement. Really? Is it okay even if I lost my ID? Maybe I was too honest. And several examiners were amused by me. Mr. Hardy said you were admitted. So hurry up and get your documents. Okay. I turned around several times in excitement, and finally remembered to gently cover the piano. I can go to work anytime. Anytime. There was a chuckle from the examiner. Not very friendly. As if he was laughing at my naivety. Following the sound, I saw that it was the girl who went to room 502 last night. The familiar French big waves and pointed high heels. The familiar arrogant look. I was in a good mood and didn't mind. So I smiled and nodded to her. But she raised her eyebrows. He must have recognized me. But he kind of dislikes me. After filling out a bunch of forms, the troupe asked me to start rehearsing with the troupe tomorrow. This was exactly what I wanted, and I couldn't wait to tell the grumpy guy the good news. As we walked out of the theater, the fragrance of osmanthus wafted from a roadside osmanthus tree. I held up the osmanthus branch that the grumpy ghost gave me. Although some petals had fallen off, it was more fragrant than the osmanthus flowers in the whole tree. Georgia. Hardy called me. He seemed to be waiting for me. Mr. Hardy. I went to him. Thank you for your tolerance today. I almost missed the exam. Hardy nodded. You created the opportunity for yourself. Fortunately, there is a piano backstage. Although it is a bit old, it can still be played. Hardy changed the subject. You didn't stand out in the first and second interviews. But after a month, you seem like a completely different person. It's amazing. I can't hide it from him at all. I blushed, and naturally couldn't tell the truth. So I could only say, maybe it's because I practiced too hard. Hardy obviously didn't believe it, and instead asked, who is your teacher? Sam. I know Sam, but his style is not like his. My heart was moved, and I asked, who does Mr. Hardy think I look like? Hardy looked at me for a long time and said quietly, an old friend. I know why I was admitted. Because of the grumpy ghost. The grumpy one was Felix. And I, Felix's disciple on earth, reminded Hardy of his own grandson. Of course I didn't reveal this, for fear of scaring the respected old man. Unexpectedly, Hardy was not scared by me, but the security guard was. The moment I appeared at the gate of the community, the security guard looked at me in astonishment with his mouth wide open. You're not home. I went out early in the morning. Then, the security guard pointed at my house, his voice trembling. Who is playing the piano? The sound of piano came from my window. It was dream movement. Who else could it be but a grumpy ghost? Seeing the security guard's pale face, I dared not scare him again. If I scared him away, I would be the only living person in this community. I quickly made up a lie. It was a recording of me practicing, and the computer played it automatically. The security guard couldn't tell the difference either. He believed it. And finally a bit of color appeared on his face. He let out a long sigh of relief. I was scared to death. I thought it was haunted. Hee. It is indeed haunted. But I can't let you know. I rushed home excitedly, opened the door and shouted, Grumpy. I passed the exam. The piano music stopped abruptly, but I saw the admission ticket and ID card on the table at a glance. Hey, why are you here? I clearly put it in my bag. I put the ID away and said excitedly, I got into my dream theater. Really? Congratulations, the irritable ghost said. But his tone didn't seem that excited. Aren't you happy for me? It was only with your guidance that I was able to pass the exam. Of course I am happy. Actually, it doesn't sound that happy. But he is a grumpy guy, and I am used to his moodiness. Thank you so much. I don't know what I can do for you. He interrupted me. If I were not a ghost, but a living person, what would you do for me? This was a strange question, but I smiled and said, I'll do whatever you ask me to do. Really? Really? I nodded sincerely and even held out my little finger. We can pinky promise. Children's play. He sneered. I chuckled, took my hand back, and took the osmanthus branch out of my bag. Thanks to your lucky gift. I will offer it well. I found a mineral water bottle, put osmanthus flowers in it, placed it on the piano, and the whole room was filled with fragrance. How did you pass the exam without any ID? He asked. It was a close call. They wouldn't let me into the exam room. Luckily, there was an old piano backstage. I didn't care. I just played on that old piano. I thought, even if I don't pass the exam, I want them to hear my music. The grumpy ghost's breathing suddenly became rapid. That piano. Is it okay? His voice was trembling a little. This was the first time he did this. Some of the notes are off, but otherwise it's fine. You said that a true master wouldn't be restrained by weapons. He murmured in a low voice. My words are so important. Well, you're Felix. So you can. Stop talking. He suddenly shouted. I was startled, not knowing what had offended his dragon scales again. Just as I was about to ask, I heard the sound of wind chimes. He was gone. I chased after him. Grumpy. Why did you run away? Did I say something wrong to make you angry? He didn't respond to me. He is like this. Every time he gets angry, he retreats into his own urn without saying a word. Maybe even retracted the urn. Oh, forget it. He is already a ghost. I will just leave him alone. I wrote a note and shoved it under the door. It's no use hiding. I'll come and bother you every day. When I thought about it again at night, I always thought that Grumpy's reaction was very strange. He obviously cared so much about this exam. But when I passed, he didn't seem happy. And why was he playing the piano in my house in broad daylight? I remembered that there were surveillance cameras in the house. I had heard earlier that this was a columbarium, so I was somewhat awed by it. So I installed a camera. I called up the surveillance footage and pulled the time directly to before I left home in the morning. I suddenly realized that when I bent down to change my shoes, my admission ticket and ID card floated out of my bag. No, it was taken out quietly by someone. It's a grumpy ghost. Why did he take my ID? No wonder he wasn't excited. Didn't he really want me to pass the exam? Even if you don't want me to pass the exam, you wouldn't use such despicable means. When I thought of my despair in the examination room, I couldn't wait a moment and immediately went to find him to ask him clearly. I rushed out and knocked on the door of room 502 loudly. Come out, angry ghost. Don't hide in there and keep silent. I know you are home. At this moment, I finally understood. If you meet a stubborn person who refuses to explain things to you, you really want to smash everything and be done with it. I picked up a brick and wanted to break down the door, when suddenly a cold wind blew past. Ghosts also sleep. What are you doing? The grumpy ghost said impatiently. Did you steal my ID? Silence. Speak up. You taught me so hard. Didn't you just want me to pass the exam? Why did you steal my ID? Still silent. Grumpy. Aren't you capable of being irritable? Go on. Irritable. I was so angry at him that I was desperate. Don't go, he suddenly said. Let's apply to other theater companies. This is a very strange request. The Dream Theater is the best theater company, and I was admitted. So why should I apply for other companies? Anyway, just listen to me. I won't listen. Dream Theater has been my dream for many years, and Felix is my idol. I can go to the place where dreams come true, and I will soon sit in front of the piano that Felix played. That light will exist for me from now on. You actually told me not to go. He is crazy. I was so angry that I turned around and went back to 501 and slammed the door. I thought he would chase me through the door. After all, this door couldn't keep him out. Unexpectedly, he didn't come in. He said outside the door, "Aren't my words very important? I am also convinced. This person is not only moody, but also capricious." Before, I said his words were important, but he gave me a cold shoulder. Now he wants to be important again. I am dreaming. It doesn't matter now. I yelled. Also, stop asking me rhetorical questions. It's so annoying. There was no sound outside. I don't understand why the grumpy guy is like this. Could it be that he suddenly felt awkward because he remembered that there was finally someone to replace him? In short, I must go to the Dream Theater, and I must play my own dream movement, under the attention of everyone. I want the name, Georgia, to be engraved in the minds of every piano-playing child, just like Felix back then. After I had a quarrel with Cranky, he stopped coming. I started to rehearse with the group, with Hardy directing me personally. The troupe said they could arrange a dormitory for me, but I declined. The superficial reason is that I am used to living alone. But deep down I still hope that the grumpy ghost will come to me. If you move away, you will completely lose contact. Then they will be separated forever. I don't want to. Every day when I pass by 502, I always have the urge to knock on the door. There were 2 times when I raised my hand and was about to clap, but when I thought about how that guy was playing me in the palm of his hand, I got so angry that I turned around and left. The osmanthus flowers in the mineral water bottle have withered, but I couldn't bear to throw them away, so I let them wither and turn into dried flowers. Although I was sad about the disappearance of the grumpy guy, I never slacked off in my practice. I finally played the Steinway in the center of the stage, but this earned me cold stares and cold words from my colleagues. Grace, the chief pianist, would say provocatively, "Are you qualified to play this piano? I don't know why my grandfather hired you. Is it because you are cheap?" Other colleagues chuckled. Grace is Felix's cousin. After Felix's death, she was promoted to the principal pianist of the Dream Theater. The troupe worked hard to build her character as Felix's cousin, and another bright star in the Leopold family. But the reaction from the outside world was that her strength was slightly lacking and it would be difficult for her to achieve great things. So I know she is anxious because she is afraid that I will push her away. So I fought back. I got in based on my own merit, and I am playing the same piano with you here with honor. She walked away with a sweet laugh, leaving me with words I couldn't understand. Really, something that cannot be seen in public. In a blink of an eye. It was the Golden Autumn Concert, which is an important performance of the Dream Theater every year. I went to ask Hardy to participate, and he smiled and nodded. After practicing for so long, it's natural to show off. Then he said, "But you are too immature. You can't bring in box office without fame. Just be Grace SB Card this time. I know that I am not a rising star like Felix, nor am I a socialite with a strong family background like Grace. I am already satisfied with just getting a B card. So I accepted it with pleasure. I thought the B card was for Grace to come on as a substitute when she was tired from continuous fighting or had a sudden illness. But I didn't expect that until the Golden Autumn Concert poster was released. My name was not on it at all. I was stunned. I asked Hardy, "Mr. Hardy, am I not a B card?" Hardy took me to a dark corner backstage and turned on the ceiling light. The strong light instantly enveloped me and the old piano. He smiled and said, "Here is your place. I'm not a B card. I'm a stand-in behind the scenes." The finale piece of the Golden Autumn Concert was Dream Movement. On the surface, the performer was Grace, but in fact, what the audience heard was my performance backstage. So Grace said I was something that cannot be seen in the light. I cannot accept this. It is an insult to me and a blasphemy to music. At the beginning, Hardy was very friendly and said that Dream Movement had special meaning. Grace could not play it with that flavor. And if the Dream Theater wanted to regain its glory, It needed a superstar. Although I can play dream movement, well, I don't have the buff to become a superstar. Seeing that I was not convinced, Hardy took off his disguise and said that I could refuse the offer. But no other theater would dare to employ a pianist who had been kicked out of the Dream Theater. From then on, I had no way forward in the music industry. He said it with a smile, but I saw hideousness in his smile. I don't know how I got home. I was in a daze and confused, until I walked out of the elevator. I was finally alone in the world. I couldn't walk anymore. I was hit by a wave of sadness and sat in the corridor crying. My dream has now become a joke. I was stripped of my name, my face, and even the sunlight. From now on, I will become a mole in the dark, living a humble life in the darkness. Tears blurred my eyes, distorting the 502 in front of me. 502. I was shocked. Could it be that the grumpy ghost knew about it? He had been guiding me wholeheartedly before and clearly wanted me to pass the exam. But he changed his mind the morning after Grace's visit and tried to stop me from taking the exam. He must have known the truth. He didn't want to see me become a mole. And I misunderstood him deeply. Come out, angry ghost. You knew I wanted to be your replacement, didn't you? I wronged you, irritable guy. I apologize to you. Please come out now. I knocked on the door, but got no response. I want to see him. Immediately. Right now. Even if he doesn't respond to me, I will at least kowtow to his spirit. That is also my gratitude and regret. If I don't have the key, I'll just use my flesh and blood to ram it. With a bang. The door didn't move at all, but I cried out in pain. A key popped out from under the door and hit my foot. The grumpy ghost finally wants to see me. The keyhole moved slightly, and the door opened. All the windows were sealed tightly, and the room was dark. A large beam of light poured in through the open door. The morning hall is right in the center. But it was an unfamiliar name. Ivan. There are also unfamiliar faces in the photos. Young, stubborn, and cold. Grumpy ghost. I was confused. I never expected that everything behind the door was so strange. There was a sigh in the corner. It was so familiar that I suddenly felt at ease. Is that you? Angry? I asked softly. The familiar voice got deeper. I'm not Felix. Disappointed. I wasn't disappointed. I even felt a little relieved. I will always bear a grudge against the Leopold family, and I don't want Cranky to have anything to do with them. I shook my head firmly. Not disappointed. Really. He couldn't believe it. And immediately reflected. Sorry. You don't like to ask back questions. But I want to make sure. Are you really not disappointed? Who would care about his rhetorical question? I took a deep breath. I'm a little surprised. But not disappointed at all. I'm even glad you're not Felix. Because I will never forgive the Leopold family. Well, that's good, the grumpy ghost said in a low voice. Your name is Ivan. You play so well. But I've never heard your name. Because I am just like you. I can only hide in a dark corner, adorn others with my music, and never deserve my own name. I was shocked. So you are. I'm Felix S. Standen. In an instant, all the doubts in Felix's short life were resolved. He became famous at a young age, but announced that he would no longer tour after the age of 22, and has only performed at the Dream Theater since then. Everyone said that he no longer needed to seek global fame, even if he only appeared on the stage of Dream Theater. Music fans from all over the world would come to worship him, and after he became a permanent resident of Dream Theater, his skills have indeed become more and more sophisticated. It turned out that it was not that he improved, but from that time on, the one who really played the piano was no longer Felix, but the irritable guy. No, the irritable guy had his own name. He was Ivan. Ivan is the performer. It is he who touches countless audiences and gives a golden dream to every audience member who enters the theater. He even recorded Felix's later albums on his behalf. How naive I was. I had already noticed a big difference between Felix's early and later music, but I thought it was a transformation. You can't blame me. Everyone was kept in the dark. Right. Did that old bastard Hardy force you to do that? I was outraged. Even more outraged than if I had been a stand-in. Ivan said slowly. Felix and I. It's a long story. Hearing this, I turned around and gently closed the door, and the room fell into darkness again, as if it was the background color of this past event. It turns out that Ivan is Felix's adopted son. When he was young, his family was poor. He picked up a toy piano in the garbage dump. He took it home as if it were a treasure and actually played Jingle Bells on the small toy piano. Because of his extraordinary talent, his parents did their best to support him in piano studies, and his teacher was even willing to teach him for free. When he was 12 years old, he and Felix participated in the same competition. He came first and Felix came second. This was the only time in Felix's short life that he did not win a championship. Not long after, a car accident destroyed the Lin family. Lin's father passed away and Lin's mother fell into a coma. Ivan had to shoulder the responsibility of the family at a young age and was about to give up his music career. At this time Hardy took the initiative to lend a helping hand, arranged for Lin's mother to go to the best nursing home, and took Ivan to Felix's home to teach him carefully and live together. Ivan is 3 years younger than Felix. The two have very different personalities, but similar temperaments. They compete and surpass each other, and appreciate each other. But gradually, Ivan discovered that the Leopold family had a secret. The first time he noticed something was wrong was when Felix knocked over the cup while drinking water. He saw with his own eyes that Felix's hands were shaking, but Felix himself was completely unaware. Later, he overheard a conversation between Hardy and the doctor in the study, and learned that Felix had a genetic disease. As he got older, the tremors would become more frequent and his muscles would lose strength. In other words, Felix would probably not be able to play the piano after he turned 20. By the time Felix was 22, he could no longer sustain long hours of practice and even made a rare mistake during a tour. It caused a lot of uproar for a while. Ivan thought that the Leopold family was going to announce Felix's illness, but Hardy told him that there was a piano backstage at the Dream Theater that was prepared for him. From then on, Ivan was Felix's stand-in. He also said that if Ivan was unwilling, he would cut off Lin's mother's medical expenses. Ivan finally understood why Hardy treated him like his own grandson and gave him all his guidance over the years, but never allowed him to compete or perform in public. Because Hardy has been waiting for this day. From the moment Hardy visited the Lin family, he was planning this farce of deceiving the world and stealing fame. Thinking of his mother lying in a nursing home and enjoying top-notch treatment, Ivan agreed despite the humiliation. Felix resisted fiercely, but Ivan had to put on a smile and comfort him, saying that he did it voluntarily and that the outside world must not know that there was a problem with Felix's genes. Please give me a chance to repay the Leopold family, Ivan said. God knows how much his heart aches. This means that he, Ivan, will never see the light of day again in this life. From then on, Ivan began to perform backstage. Every time he played, it was a waste of his life. He felt like a mole, a sinner who was punished by God and could not see the sun. He was getting thinner and thinner, and he couldn't sleep all night. He began to hate going out during the day and even sewed all the curtains in his bedroom tightly. Otherwise, the sunlight that accidentally came into the room in the early morning would scare him and make him tremble all over. He could only imagine the sunshine, the starry sky, the sea, the forest, his parents while playing, and imagine that there were people in this world who loved and cared about him. He played on that piano backstage for 4 years, until one day, he went to visit his mother in a nursing home and found out that she had died a month ago. In order to let him feel at ease as a substitute, the Leopold family even concealed the news of Lin's mother's death and did not let him see his mother for the last time. Ivan completely broke down and after making a scene at Felix's house, he stormed out angrily. The long period of isolation from the world made him completely unable to recognize the road. The dazzling sunlight made him completely dizzy. He was like a bird without wings, falling to the world and losing his direction in the rolling traffic. With a sharp brake sound, Ivan ended his nameless life. At this point, Ivan started crying. This irritable, moody and occasionally shy man cried like a helpless child. Ivan. I opened my arms and made a hug gesture. Then, I actually felt someone snuggling up to me. A slight chill entered my embrace, but warm water dripped onto my shoulders. Ghosts are cool, but the ghost's tears are actually hot. I said, I'd do anything for Cranky, even if I am banned from the music industry in the future. After wiping away my tears, I returned to the troupe the next day as if nothing had happened, and told Hardy that I was willing to be his stand-in for more money. Then I mentioned an astronomical figure. Hardy was shocked by me and said I was crazy. I said, buy out my lifetime. It's not a loss. Otherwise, I will fight to the death, make a big fuss, and see who will be more embarrassed. At worst, I will stop playing the piano and go back to my hometown to open a milk tea shop. Maybe it was my crazy and risk-taking look that impressed Hardy. He hesitated for a moment and actually agreed. The Leopold family must be rich to agree to this. Money spent unscrupulously. The Golden Autumn concert was held for 3 consecutive days and every show was sold out. I was in the backstage where Ivan had been hiding for 4 years. And I used the tune Steinway to win a full house of applause for Grace. At the end of the show, Hardy invited the industry, including the most demanding music critics. He made sure I was submissive and unbridled. As expected, music critics praised Grace's performance, especially the last song, Dream Movement, which broke through the bottleneck of Grace's previous performances and had the charm of Felix back then. For a period of time afterwards, Grace was constantly interviewed, appeared in magazines, on variety shows, and even went to the front row of Paris fashion shows. He is clearly a new top star. Her attitude towards me changed from disdain to hostility. Once she stared at me for a long time and asked, "Why do you still live there?" "Cheap," I answered indifferently. "My grandfather gave you a lot. Enough for you to buy a big house in the city. I like hanging out with ghosts." Psycho. Grace looked at her like she was looking at a patient, just like the way the security guard looked at me for the first time. They don't understand. I really like the company of a ghost named Ivan. After learning about Ivan's background, I decided not to mind his temper. But the amazing thing is that he is not so angry anymore. According to him, he didn't know how to get along with others before, but now he is longing for sunshine in his heart. I don't know whether this is a good thing or a bad thing for ghosts. Although I still couldn't see him, we got along more naturally and harmoniously than before. I bought him a mobile phone. Occasionally I would receive a message from him. "What are you doing?" My heart will soften instantly. There is only him in this world, and I am the only one in the contact list. I told him a lot about the outside world. Let him live in my space. Watch TV series with me. Listen to my gossip. And practice piano with me. Even walked with me in the night. The security guard was very impressed with my courage and said, "You are wandering around alone in the middle of the night. Little girl, you are not afraid of ghosts." I laughed. People are scarier than ghosts. I also pestered Ivan to talk about some things in the ghost world, but he was a little embarrassed and said that he had never actually come into contact with other ghosts. My piano music awakened him, and only then could he come and go freely. Before this, he had no consciousness. I said, "Then you are not a ghost. You are still halfway to the ghost world, and now you are an invisible person." He thought about it and said that this understanding is also fine. I also heard a lot about the Leopold family, including Grace, who bought a columbarium for him. Grace often goes to 502, and after waking up, Ivan understands Grace's curses. From Grace, he learned that Felix committed suicide. Felix was already weak, and the loss of control over his body made his depression worse. Ivan's death tormented him day and night, and finally one day, he wrote a suicide note and jumped off the roof. So Grace goes crazy every time she comes to 502. She scolded Ivan. "Who allowed you to die? You are a ghost of the Leopold family in life and you will be a ghost of the Leopold family in death." She also scolded Ivan. "All of this is caused by you." Felix could have chosen the right time to retire and announced his retirement from the stage due to illness. Now the whole world is watching the Leopold family's joke. Are you satisfied? Ivan remained silent, as he didn't want others to know of his presence. There was only one time when I almost couldn't hold it back. It was the night before my exam. Grace came to 502 again and started to scold him irrationally, saying that poor people should accept their fate and that he was destined to be a substitute. Do you think that if you die, the Leopold family will not be able to find a substitute? Don't worry. There are many poor people in this world. My grandfather also found a replacement for me, and she lives across from you. God's will. One on the left and one on the right. You are destined to be substitutes. Ivan was shocked and rushed out, and a gust of wind frightened Grace so much that she screamed. The scream made Ivan sober up immediately, and he clenched his fists, but finally held back. It made me want to laugh. This is so Grace. She can be so sarcastic even about a photo. Ivan said, "Why did you agree to be her replacement? She doesn't deserve it. I want money. Then leave when you've made enough money." I shook my head. I want justice more. I make money just to get justice. I want both Ivan's justice and Georgia's justice. Ivan, I want to release a piano album for you. It costs money to produce and promote it. Ivan was a little dazed. I could even feel a chill passing over him. He was shaking his body restlessly. I'll make the arrangements. Just concentrate on practicing the piano. Okay. He responded with trust. In the past, he was the one who had the final say on the road of music. But now in this world, I want to be his support. I started to make arrangements in full swing. Selecting songs, booking a reservation with a top recording studio using Ivan's name, and opening an account on a music platform. On the day of recording, I pretended that I was used to playing the piano in a closed space and drew the curtains tightly. I sat side by side with Ivan, and when he played the most moving parts, I burst into tears. I knew this album was a success. This is a return to this world by a person who has already passed away. Absolutely brilliant. Ivan is not completely ignorant of the ways of the world. He said, "Georgia, I am already a dead man. Don't give too much to me. You have to leave yourself a way out." I was determined. If the plan is successfully implemented, I will find a way out. What if it doesn't work? I smiled confidently and said, "Then there is plan B. I can't fail." After the album's post-production was completed, the producer was very excited and said he would recommend it to a record company to publish and release it for me, saying that this album would shake up the music industry. I declined. I have my own rhythm. Winter came, and the Dream Theater was still rehearsing. Hardy would occasionally stare at me in a trance. "Mr. Hardy, do I remind you of our old friend again?" I asked deliberately. Hardy looked away and said calmly, "If he were still alive, he would probably admire you." "I think so." I smiled. If Hardy is terrifyingly gloomy, then Grace is ridiculously superficial. She participated in a dating variety show, intending to create a high-end personality that was detached from the world. But it failed miserably. Times have changed and audiences don't buy that anymore. Some even suggested that her performance on the show was unworthy of her reputation as the Queen of Piano. Grace urgently needs to clear her name. So she comes up with an idea. Let her lover pretend to secretly come to the New Year's concert to create a romantic surprise. The program team thought the script was very good. The opportunity I've been waiting for has finally come. On the eve of the New Year's concert, I uploaded the recorded album to the music platform, with the account name, Ivan. At this moment, Ivan was submerged in the ocean and no one paid attention to him. But he'll explode. And soon. Dream Theater's New Year's concert plus popular variety show are definitely hard to get tickets for. I was backstage, peering into the theater through the one-way glass. The program crew had already set up multiple cameras and the crew was ready. The music industry leaders were all beaming as they walked into the venue one after another and took their positions under the spotlight. Even Grace's love interest in the variety show, a young movie star, took his seat in style. That's great. It's the scene I've always dreamed of. The concert started with a very warm atmosphere. Grace was the last to appear and played 2 songs to welcome the new year. The whole theater was mobilized and entered the New Year carnival. At this time the highlight came. The camera of the dating variety show was set up high, and they wanted to focus on shooting the finale song, Dream Melody. Grace changed into another haute couture dress and walked slowly to the piano. It's my turn. After 3 months of being a stand-in, I was already very familiar with the piano. When Grace raised her hand, I pressed the piano keys in sync with her. The whole theater was actually filled with the sound of my piano. But this time it should be a little different. The first movement had just ended and the music was about to turn from the spring when all things grow to the melodious childhood memories. When suddenly, I twisted my wrist and directly changed the song. From my angle I could see the stage. I saw Grace was caught off guard and was stunned for a second. Although she followed immediately, I knew that the sharp-eyed guys in the front row would notice something unusual. Just when Grace was about to catch up with my song, I suddenly changed it. Grace followed again in a panic, and there was already an uproar in the theater. The audience also noticed it at this time. The big guys may be cunning, but the audience doesn't care about that. They whispered to each other, sensing that an accident was about to happen, and raised their phones to take pictures. I felt so happy in my heart. I knew Grace must be cursing in her heart, and Hardy must be so angry that he wanted to vomit blood. Hardy, please bear with it for a moment. I want you to vomit in front of me. I heard footsteps outside the door, and the staff who knew the situation came to stop me from making trouble. I stopped playing, picked up the emergency hammer I had prepared long ago, rushed to the glass, and smashed it hard. With a loud bang, the glass shattered and broke into countless pieces, pouring down onto the stage. There were screams in the theater, including Grace on stage, and I, standing in front of the empty window, finally saw the entire theater. It turns out that the theater without glass is so bright, and the light without obstruction is so scorching. I heard the audience exclaiming, "Look, there's someone over there. It's a woman. Who is she?" Everyone looked at me, the uninvited guest, who appeared in the air above the stage. I shouted loudly, "My name is Georgia. I am Grace S. stand-in, and the dream movement you heard was played by me. The Dream Theater deceived you. Take her away. She's crazy." Hardy waved his hands. The staff rushed towards me and I yelled, "I'm not crazy. Hardy, don't you dare let people hear me play. This is a once-in-a-lifetime show. How can we miss it?" Some people were quick to broadcast live, and some shouted, "Come down and play it for everyone." At that moment, many people responded, and the voices calling for my death became louder and louder. The situation was completely out of control. Grace made a big mistake in her panic. She screamed, covered her face and ran away. Grace feels guilty. The audience shouted, "Georgia, play one. Georgia, play one." I don't know who started it, but the whole place started shouting in a rhythmic manner. The MC walked onto the stage and tried to force the concert to end, but a certain big shot sitting in the front row shouted at him to stop with a sullen face. "Who played it? If you listen, you'll know. If she is really causing trouble, just call the police." Another big boss also spoke up. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, I pushed aside the staff who were blocking my way, walked out of the dark backstage with my head held high, and stepped onto the stage of Dream Theater, the holy place in my mind. I have dreamed of the stage since I was a child. It was so difficult for me to walk these short tens of meters that I even thought it was out of my reach in this life. I sat down in front of the Steinway piano and looked firmly toward the sound control room. The sound controllers are also complicit, using technology to facilitate this absurd performance. Now, they have to bring live sound to the stage. At this moment, I felt Ivan sitting next to me. The scorching heat above my head and the coolness coming from my side made me strong and full in the spotlight. The music started, reaching every corner of the theater. I presented a complete dream movement to everyone. The audience was ignited by me and gave me the warmest applause. The internet has exploded. Grace's account was the first to be attacked. Thousands of netizens swarmed in, saying that she was a fraud and a traitor, and that she was destroying the reputation of the Leopold family. Her reputation as the Queen of Piano was once as loud as it was now. This is what she deserves. It's backlash. Hardy caught me at the theater door, his teeth gnashing and his eyes spurting with anger that could have burned me to death dozens of times. Georgia, your life is over. I will use all my power to make you live a life worse than death. I sneered. You can use as much power as you want. If this circle can't tell right from wrong, then I, Georgia, don't care. The sweet-scented osmanthus trees no longer smell fragrant in winter, but the green is eternal. There was a large crowd of spectators under the tree, holding up their phones and live streaming. When they saw me go out, the crowd got agitated and ran towards me. Georgia, you're awesome. The Felix family deserves what they got for exposing their aristocratic family. They were all trying to tempt me to speak. Every word I responded with had the potential to become a hot topic. Even my micro-expressions would be picked up and interpreted, becoming a hot topic of discussion. I looked around with a smile and saw a young girl at the front. Even his heels were stepped on and fell off, but he still rushed forward without hesitation. And she was the only one who asked differently. She asked, Georgia, aren't you afraid of retaliation from the Leopold family? I smiled and asked, how many people are there in your live broadcast room now? The girl said, 9,000. Okay. I'll make you over 10,000 right away. No. Over 100,000. I took a taxi and asked the girl to get in with me. Her camera could ensure that I got home safely and also allow me to complete the play. The revenge in the theater is only my Georgia's. Next. I want to help Ivan get justice. My name is Georgia. Ever since the day I was admitted to the music school, I have dreamed of standing on the stage of my dream theater one day. This fall, I became the final winner in the theater recruitment. I was so happy. I naively thought that I, Georgia, would finally become the most dazzling person under the spotlight. Unexpectedly, this was the beginning of a farce. Facing the camera, I slowly told my experiences one by one. Outside the camera, I also opened my phone and entered the girls' live broadcast room. I saw the 100,000 in the upper right corner and countless comments running by. They sympathized with me, scolded the Leopold family for being unscrupulous, and mocked Grace for being pretentious. Of course, there were also people who scolded me. They were Felix's fans. I said calmly, Felix's performances after he turned 22 were also performed by a stand-in. What? The girl screamed, and even the driver slammed on the brakes. The Felix family is very skilled at manipulating this. And I'm not the first. If I don't come forward and expose it today, I won't be the last. There were so many comments in the live broadcast room that I didn't have time to read them all. They were all shocked faces and exclamation marks. Someone commented, Felix has only performed at the Dream Theater since he was 22. It's fitting. The girl was obviously a senior music fan. She asked, Felix has won awards in competitions before, and has also toured around the world. It's impossible for him to cheat. He doesn't need a stand-in at his level. The Leopold family has a genetic disease. Since the age of 22, Felix has been almost unable to play a complete repertoire. So Hardy found a substitute for him. His name is Ivan. He and I are both children from ordinary families. The spotlight can't shine on us, but Hardy can find us. If we are targeted by the Leopold family, we are doomed to have no name in this life. If we are unwilling to cooperate, we will never be able to move forward. The live broadcast room exploded. Fuck. That's too vicious. Hardy is a big shot anyway. It shouldn't be that serious. But Georgia was a stand-in today. This is an ironclad fact. The live broadcast room was extremely noisy, and the girl was reading the messages. Felix's style did change after he turned 22. Yes. We fans all know this. Excuse me, miss. Where is Ivan? Yes. Felix has passed away. Ivan should be free. How come we fans have never heard of this name? Suddenly, I felt something blocking my throat, spreading all the way to my heart. It was an inexplicable pain. Ivan will never come out again. I can't say the word. Death. In my heart. He is not dead. He is the grumpy ghost who accompanied me, encouraged me, and spent the most difficult years with me. He is also Ivan who gave me strength and made me dare to fight against the whole world. He is not dead. He just became invisible. His voice, his soul, and his music are still in the world. Never left. The girl seemed to have guessed something and asked softly, "Is he okay?" I held back my sobs and said, "He's fine. He just retired and didn't want to be involved in worldly affairs." I uploaded his music album. Fans who are interested can go and have a listen. His music deserves to be spread, and his name should be remembered by the world. Ivan. Ivan burst into tears in 501. I did it. I couldn't help crying after saying just these 4 words. At this time, the outside world was already in turmoil. The girls' live broadcast room was recorded and shared by countless people. Grace was scolded to the point of shutting down her social media comments. Hardy's escape car was surrounded by people, and his ugly appearance of being angry and frustrated was spread everywhere. They deserve it. Ivan's account is gaining followers at an alarming rate. His albums are listened to by countless people, and countless messages are pouring into the comments section, full of praise, amazement, and infinite curiosity. Well-known music critics also rushed to the front line, not only giving the most effusive praise, but also unanimously agreeing that this was indeed the playing style that Felix presented in his later years. Some Felix fans refused to give up. Maybe this is Felix's performance. The critic responded. The last 2 pieces were written after Felix's death. The final word, Ivan, instantly topped the popularity list, download list, and comment list. He deserves it. Maybe it's too late, but it's finally here. The world finally knows you. Ivan, you have a name. Suddenly, I was hugged, and Ivan's sobbing was very close to me. Thanks. His tears formed a sticky patch on my forehead, wet and hot. Don't cry. I don't want to cry. Let's be happy. Okay. I tried hard to laugh, but I cried even harder with him. That night, Ivan did not return to room 502. His albums were playing on the computer on a loop, and we were unrestrained in the sound of the piano, like 2 lunatics wandering outside the world, laughing when we were tired of crying, crying when we were tired of laughing, and finally falling asleep in his arms. It was already dawn when I woke up, and the sun was slanting in from the window. I suddenly felt the embrace was gone. If it weren't for the traces of dried tears on my forehead, I would have almost thought that last night was a dream. Ivan. There was no response, and the room was silent. I suddenly had a bad feeling in my heart and rushed out of the house. 502. The door was locked, just like usual. But at this moment I only felt a chill, and an inexplicable sense of determination passed through me. Ivan had given me the key a long time ago. I opened the door of 502 with trembling hands. Ivan. Grumpy. The morning hall remained the same, and that handsome young man looked at me with a half-smile. Are you ignoring me again? Don't leave. You can't leave. This silence scared me, and tears flowed down my cheeks. Cranky. Please don't leave me here alone. Okay. The cold and empty room knocked my call back. In front of the morning hall, Ivan's cell phone was placed upright. He really left. Leave me alone in this world. There was an unsent message on Ivan's phone. I have tried many times, but I still cannot let you see me. Instead, my awake time is getting shorter and shorter. No matter how reluctant I am, I know it is time to leave. Thank you for letting me have such a wonderful encore. I have no regrets in spending this time with you. Please bury my ashes next to my parents. I want to have a good sleep. Don't miss me. Georgia. Please take care of yourself for the rest of your life. I clicked send and cried while holding the phone. My hot-tempered ghost. There is not even a question mark. And he will never ask me back again. I will take good care of myself. You can't make me forget you. Because I firmly believe that Ivan will meet me again somewhere. The Felix family couldn't drive me away. And I'm thriving more than ever. Thinking that all the ashes in the community will fall asleep to the sound of the piano in the future. I can't help but smile. The board of directors of the troupe has removed Hardy from his position as the head of the troupe. The music industry is not indiscriminate about right and wrong. It is the Felix family that is now in trouble. I heard that Hardy had a stroke. I didn't get to see his crooked mouth and eyes with my own eyes, which was a bit regretful. But I did see Grace's miserable appearance. She went to 502 to see Ivan, but found the morning hall empty. So she ran to the Dream Theater to go crazy. I looked at her dull long hair and pale cheeks, and sighed that a person who has lost his spirit is like an empty shell whose soul has been drained away. This empty shell is covered with stockings with holes, and looks decadent and bleak. You stole Ivan, she screamed. You stole his life. And I just helped him get back the smallest part of it. Grace stared at me. He's obviously dead. How did you record the album? It's a secret. I smiled. Ivan's album copyright was sold at a sky-high price. I used the copyright fee to set up the Ivan Piano Scholarship Fund, to specifically support those poor children who have musical dreams. Ivan, I will never let you leave. I want you to have a name. I want you to have temperature. I want you to have life. I want you to be praised. I want you to be missed. I want you to receive lots of love and gratitude. I want you to have a smile on your face when you sleep next to your parents. Ivan,